Well, hello there, how are you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Today we got a pick a card reading. This one is going to be about that which you need to know when it comes to yourself. What do you need to know about yourself? And I'm feeling like the intention is going to be more focused onto the beautiful things that you may be choosing to ignore about yourself. All the things that perhaps we're not so comfortable with, but actually makes us that much more beautiful. So yeah, this one is going to be about like all the beautiful things about yourself that you may not be realizing or admitting to. So I'm very excited about this one. It's going to be a much lighter, much funnier reading. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one. If that's something you're interested in, make yourself comfortable, make yourself at home, and we're going to get right into it. That being said, if you enjoy this content, please like it and subscribe so you don't miss out when your boy posts new videos like so, and also it supports me tremendously. So yeah, with that being said, let's get right into it. As you can see, today we got 4 groups in front of us to be choosing from. As always with pick a card readings, that's the portion of the video where I'm going to be inviting you to tune into your intuition so as to feel into which pile you feel the most drawn to, knowing that whichever pile you feel the most drawn to is going to be the one holding the messages you're meant to be hearing right now, this moment. Now, if you feel drawn to more than one pile, that's okay. It may simply mean that there are more messages for you to be hearing. Messages contained within multiple piles. So yeah, take your time to choose your pile, maybe on the number of the pile, maybe the crystal, maybe just your gut feeling. And once you've chosen your pile, you will be able to fast forward directly to the timestamps of your reading provided down below, either in the description box or the pinned comment. That being said, for pile number 1, we have the rose quartz, the little heart. Pile number 2 is going to be the amazonite. Pile number 3 is going to be the red jasper. And pile number 4, the little amethyst cluster. So there you go. Again, take your time, pause the video if you need to, and I'm going to be seeing you at your reading. Hey, pile number 1, you're up. How are you doing? I hope you're doing great, that you're comfortable, that you're curious and excited about the messages. If pile 1, if you chose pile number 1, if you chose the rose quartz, that's going to be your reading. So let's not stick around. Let's get into it. Okay, let's go. So to the question of what is it that you need to be seeing about yourself, the things that we may not be necessarily the most comfortable seeing, although they may be the most beautiful ones. We have the 9 of Cups. That is interesting to say the least. The Knight of Cups. Okay. There's a bit of a theme going on already. Then we have the new moon in Pisces, the full moon in Scorpio, a lot of water energy to say the least. The coyote, wait, I'm not gonna be seeing them if they're this slow. As well as the fox, the crow, and the squirrel. Okay. We have a lot of cards speaking about similar themes, to say the least. It's like we got all fire here, then we got 2 cards talking about trusting. We got like the coyote and the fox spirit, which have a similar energy to some extent, you could argue. And much more fire at the bottom. It's a very, very interesting energy. It's like the way the cards are laid this way is very fun, because you really got like water and fire mostly at the bottom. That's fun. What do you need to see by yourself? First of all, I feel drawn to saying that the energies that we're going to be discussing, they're not holistic, to say the least. I feel that there is a huge focus on the things that you are not necessarily seeing about yourself. But it's not holistic. There's much, much more going on within you and with you as a general. So that's just something to keep in mind. That being said, what can we say? Well, I'm definitely feeling drawn to start with the watery part. There's this feeling of you somehow not being comfortable with your watery side, your more feminine side, which is funny since it's coming through as something which is very prominent within you, something that is hard to miss from the outside, but yet you don't seem very comfortable with it. Like, the thing that strikes me the most is like the Nine of Cups. I love this card just because of how cute it looks with the white fox at the bottom, and we got another fox there. And also, like, the new moon in Pisces is such a soothing, relaxing card. There is this energy of wanting to relax and to make it almost a priority in one's life. So that is something that I love because this is beautiful in and of itself. It's like it's a very peaceful energy who works and functions best when peaceful. And yet, I can tell that this isn't something that you feel necessarily the most comfortable with. Perhaps you've grown up with beliefs around you needing to be proactive, needing to be like a go kind of person, someone who doesn't necessarily allow themselves to take a lot of time for self-care, to rest, someone who's not necessarily all that familiar with just laying back, rejuvenating, receiving, and just being. But the interesting thing is that it seems to be a very important part of you. So yeah, if I had to like define this reading, is almost as if we had like two rows of cards. Both of these rows describe a part of you that you don't seem to be very comfortable with, and yet it is some of the things which are the most fascinating about you. But let's not get scared. First, the watery part. So yeah, definitely a strong desire for peace, and it's more than a desire. This is something that, like, I'm typically getting the archetype of someone who calls themselves lazy, someone who's very uncomfortable with their inner desire to rest and relax, someone who doesn't validate themselves into this, someone who is much more about pushing themselves, risking burnout, someone who doesn't necessarily consider that burnout may be a thing, someone who's just has, yeah, someone who's always moving forward and appears oblivious to the fact that it's unhealthy. And I'm saying appears oblivious because this is very much not the truth. You're very aware of that, but it seems that it's not something that you necessarily give all that much attention about. It really feels like something you've invalidated about yourself, as prominent as it may appear within your energy field. Because yeah, it's not just a desire to be at peace, it's just you work best when at peace, which when said out loud sounds stupid because that's the case for everyone. It's like nobody functions best when under pressure for extended periods of time, you know? But there is this yearning, definitely, of being at peace, just emptying the mind, resting, rejuvenating, and just caring for themselves and making themselves a priority and enjoying the comfort, enjoying the rejuvenation, enjoying the receptiveness, the flowing nature of their emotions. It's something that is very obvious about you. It's something that you're very aware of when you allow yourself to just chill, but it's not something that you necessarily always are aligned with. I can feel, and which feels like a bit of a bummer, honestly, because it's just so sweet. It just feels so relaxing to be in your own presence because of how relaxing you're always seeking to be. Like the Nine of Cups and the Knight of Cups is really giving this this, I want to almost say, like, this flowy nature. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, I just had something. Um yeah, I'm really picking up on a very specific pattern there. The idea of not wanting to allow oneself to rest, to be in their feminine, which in this situation is allowing themselves to rest, allowing themselves to receive, allowing themselves to just be, allowing themselves to flow. And I feel like the reason is because this feminine state is deemed as unsafe. It feels unsafe to be allowing ourselves to be in this state of being. And yet at the same time, I can tell that it is when you are in this state of being, that when you are relaxed, when you are rejuvenated, when you are taking care of yourself, that you are the most creative and that you are the most abundant. That's when the best choices come. That's when your intuition, that's when you're the most tapped into your intuition. That's when you make the best choices for yourself. That's when you're the most magnetic. That's just when things work best for you. Which again, I would say arguably that's the case for freaking everybody. Taking care of yourself tends to work best for you. I know it's crazy. I know it may be a little bit of a far-fetched, bit of an abstract concept to believe in, the fact that when you take care of yourself, generally things work better. But you know, needs to be said at some point. There's a lot of the thing which is fun is because I can tell that you look at the situation from the perspective of your mind, and from the mind's perspective, it just feels like, how the heck would this feminine part of mine would allow me to get to where I want? And the funny thing is that we got the Nine of Cups, which is like it's a super positive card in tarot, which is associated with personal fulfillment, as in having all of your wishes come true. It's the card of seeing all of your wishes coming true. So it's not just about your emotions, it's about all that you desire coming true. It's about your relationships, it's about your finances as well, it's about the material possessions as well, it's about emotional fulfillment. It's about all that which you desire. So that's the paradox here, is like the mind is looking at it and deeming it as, no, if I want to get to where I want to go, I need to do this, and this, and never allow myself to relax. Whereas when we allow ourselves to relax, then that's when we have the clarity, very much apparently, the intuition, the creativity, the magnetism to actually get everything that we desire. And that is something I can tell, because it's like, yeah, but what's the link with the original question? Because it is so magnetic. Honestly, it's like your energy is very obviously containing a big part of feminine. We all have both feminine and masculine energies within us, thank God. But when it comes to you, it's like, it's obvious that you have a strong feminine energy, and the more you try to suppress it, the most it bugs you. But from the outside, it really looks just like so sweet. It really looks mysterious in the sense that it escapes all logic, and it's really almost like it feels like a superpower that allows you to get anything that you desire in a way that doesn't make sense, because yeah, the feminine doesn't make sense. The feminine feels, the feminine knows, the mind understands. If you push away the feminine, then you get yourself stuck in trying to understand everything but not being able to know anything. That's very much why I appear that, like, from the outside looking in, it feels like people don't understand, but it just works best. And honestly, it feels like such a breath of fresh air. It feels so magnetic. We have the Knight of the Knight of Cups, which is like Don Juan. It's like there's a lot of romantic, sensual energy going on here as well. It's like, it's magnetic in all of its meanings, in all areas of your life. It just works so much better. It's just so beautiful. It's just the state of flow. I feel like it's all you've been asking for a while. That's a side message, but it's very much, it's like, it's right here, it's right there, it's right within you, and it's freaking obvious and everybody sees it, but somehow you have a bit of resistance to it. And here Spirit is just saying, it's like, in due time you'll fall in love with it and you'll realize how much better it feels to be accepting this part of yours. But it's like, it's just so beautiful. It's just so sweet. The level of magnetism that we're talking here is something that you couldn't even be possibly begin to imagine, to fathom about. It's so magnetic. It shines so freaking bright. My God, something that the mind wouldn't be able to do on its own, definitely. So that is one thing. And it's to be said, something which is very beautiful, very sweet, and just feels like, oh, it feels so good. It feels so happy. It feels like simple happiness and simple pleasure. It's like you just are happy, and there isn't the need for a list of 1,000 different things going well in your life so as to justify why you're happy. It's just you're feeling happy and pleasurable and relaxed. You're feeling just like this little fox. It's like, yeah, you got everything you desire. That's it. You're happy. There isn't anything to understand about it. It's just a matter of experiencing it. So that is very, very beautiful. Another thing we got here, which I find equally as interesting, is the fact that we got a lot of redundant energies throughout these cards. So that is fun. Here we got a much more fiery energy, but also very intuitive. I'm gonna start with the intuitive part, since it seems to be like we're keeping the best for later. The coyote and the crow, trust in divine details, co-create with spirit, is like, again, perhaps the archetype of the, how is she called? Like the third card in tarot in the major arcanas. It just escapes. The high priestess, there you go. If you know in tarot what the high priestess is about, it's like, it's the mystic, it's the intuitive. And we got very much this energy going on here, which I'm not surprised because of all the watery energies and the feminine energies that are going on just above, which are very much related to these topics as well. But trust in divine details, co-create with spirit, there is a strong accent on your connection with other layers of reality, with the spirit realm. Like, I'm hearing big crown chakra energy. A crown chakra which is blast open, and you have a strong connection with spirit, and that is always something that works best in your favor when, again, you are relaxed and tapped in. Whereas when you are in fear, all of these things, all of a sudden, it's like you need to be told, you need to trust in divine details. You need to trust the divine. You need to know that the spirit is working in your favor and that everything is always happening for you. These are things you already know, actually. But when you step in the mind because of fear, because of whatever, that's just life, all of a sudden this connection seems cut. You feel disconnected. All of a sudden these things need to be said again. But these things are things you already know intrinsically. It's like there's a strong intuitive energy to you, and that is also something very, very beautiful. It's like people can tell that you know your stuff. There is no explaining. You just happen to know. That is so powerful in and of itself, And so that's the thing. Another thing is just the fiery energy that we have with the coyote, the fox, the squirrel. The coyote and the fox next to each other, there's something about being sly. There's something about, like, it's making me think of like the archetype when we say in astrology, Scorpio sun people. They are like, the cliche can be sometimes people who have a very sarcastic / little aggressive kind of humor, but yet very respectful. That's the kind of vibe I'm getting here. It's like a very, like, trickery and, yeah, a very special sense of humor, a very you kind of humor. But that something which doesn't go unnoticed, and something which is very, very fun, I am hearing. It's like, it's the kind of humor which tends to be more on the aggressive / triggering side, purposefully, although it's very respectful, and it's very stimulating for people around you, and very funny. And that is something that you are known for, something that you may be completely used to, so not necessarily something you give a lot of attention to. But your sense of humor doesn't go unnoticed, because it's not super common. It's not all that common. It's a very smart kind of humor that you have there, and a very, very interesting one, a very fun one. And I'm hearing also a very valuable one, because there are a lot of messages and things that you convey to other people through humor that they wouldn't necessarily understand otherwise. Humor and irony has this way of linking ideas together and conveying messages to people in ways that defy logic. That's a little bit like what humor and irony are about, right? Is making some weird connections between ideas that you wouldn't necessarily put together at first. And I feel that that is one of your valuable assets as well, in the sense that there is something with your humor and with your irony there in the ways that you use it, which is very, very interesting. Yet again, it's far from being the only thing going on within you when it comes to conveying messages, but that is something that seems to be worth mentioning. Another thing, like coyote, fox, and squirrel, is like, first of all, there is something with the mind that you seem to be quite witty. We already kind of touched on it with irony and humor. Yes, humor and irony generally tend to indicate people who are a little more witty, people who think on their feet, because it requires you to be putting together ideas that people wouldn't necessarily associate at first. And there is a sense of, just intelligence and being smart, something that you don't give yourself enough credits for. And yet again, something that doesn't go unnoticed. It's like, you're the kind of person where people can tell that you're a smart one. People can tell you are a smart one, definitely. And also, like, just all of this fire energy, and also like believing in yourself. Just this card alone makes me feel there's such a sense of innocence to you. It kind of feels like someone who honors deeply their inner child, someone who's very much in touch with their more innocent part, someone who's very happy to have fun in simple ways, and that's something that is very, very cute. But just these fiery energies is like a lot of confidence emanating from you. And before you tell me, nah, I don't feel confident and blah blah blah, and what you just said triggers me because that's not the way I feel and blah blah blah, it may not be something that you are owning, but it's definitely something that people can feel. There is a lot of fiery energy, a lot of confidence, and if that's not something you identify yourself with right now, it's definitely something that you will see developing in the future. There is no doubt about that. But yeah, there's this sense of, I'm getting this feeling of someone who's very unique, I'm not gonna lie. First of all, you are a very smart one. There is a very funny sense of humor, but you also are tremendously emotional deep down. Very sweet. There is connection with the divine. There is a lot of mental energy. There is, I was about to say, like, the only element we haven't seen so much of is the earth element, and yet it doesn't seem to be an issue at all for you. So it generally feels like someone who's on another level, someone who escapes logic. Like when someone meets pile number one, it's like, where the hell do they come from? I didn't know people like that existed, or at least I have seen some online. I wouldn't be expecting to meet someone like that. It's like there's something which feels very off about you, but not in a bad way, in a tremendously positive way. There's something very out of the norm. It's like you, as one person, you have a lot of very beautiful, very interesting stuff going on. You have so many talents and so many ways through which you express yourself. Yeah, it's like, when I'm getting this idea, when you ask someone to describe their ideal partner, imagine you're asking a girl to describe their ideal partner. Some of them will describe the body, some of them will describe that they make them laugh, some of them will describe this, some of them prefer this. It just feels like someone here that accumulates a lot of characteristics which are considered to be very attractive in one person. That's why it feels very much out of the grain. It feels like when someone meets you, it's a lot to take in. And yet, I can tell that a lot of these things, you're not necessarily owning all of that. You're very sweet emotional nature. You don't seem to be owning it all that much currently because of, I feel like, some unfinished business around fear. There is a strong fiery energy and confidence that emanates from the fact that you're so unique. And this as well, it's like, I can tell that you're someone who either used to or still kind of shows themselves as shy, whereas I can tell that this is not true, it's just an adaptation. It's also someone who has a very strong connection to the eyes, like, what else do you want? what else do you want at this point? And that's something fascinating. It's like, I'm so happy that it's like, sure, I can tell there are some things you're still resisting about yourself, but I can also tell that all of these themes are opening up, that you are releasing the things which are in the way, and that I can sense that, yeah, you are falling in love with all of these things about you. You are discovering, you are owning who you are, and you're falling in love with yourself as time passes, and that is beautiful. Because my God, the more time passes, and you're gonna become unstoppable, I'm telling you that. Is very much like that guy, that girl that we say, oh my God, they are so gorgeous, both in and out. It's almost a crime that they don't realize it. That's the kind of energy I'm getting here. So that is fascinating. That is very, very interesting. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for having spent time with me today. That was a very interesting, very lovely reading that we had. Very interesting. Please let me know down in the comments how it went for you, if it resonates, and what were your thoughts. There are quite some information that came through. So yeah, I would be very, very curious to connect with you in the comments. But yeah, that being said, honestly, enjoy the unfolding, enjoy you falling in love with yourself, because there is so much to be falling in love with when it comes to you, from what I can tell. And yeah, I'm gonna be seeing you in my next videos. Till then, take care of yourself, and yeah, have a good one. Bye. Hey, pal number 2, you're up. How are you doing? I hope you're doing great. I hope you're sitting or lying comfortably, or standing, whatever. If pile 2, if you chose this pile, if you chose this Amethyst, that's gonna be a reading, so let's get right into it. Okay, what is it that you need to know about yourself? What is it that you need to see about yourself? Ooh, that's an interesting combination. Okay, it's being tested. So we have the 10 of Swords as well as the King of Cups. I'll put them here. The first quarter moon as well as the Stag, the Elephant, and the Piggy. Okay, what can we say about that now? Well, first of all, starting with the tarot cards, there's a lot of maturity coming through. Oh, interesting. Okay. I'm hearing like you're someone who doesn't give themselves credit for how mature you are. Why is that? Perhaps because you're still in an environment that doesn't recognize it. Okay, well, that makes sense, I guess. It's like, it gives me the feeling of someone who, despite themselves, still kind of identifies as childish within. Although that's not the truth. As in, an adult, or a young adult, whatever, who goes about life, and in certain situations, they just feel like they can't do it, or they just feel not enough, and they have these emotions of like feeling like a little kid. There's nothing wrong with that. And either that, or I'm hearing like an environment that constantly reminds you of the fact that there is something that is not enough about you. There's something of, yeah, just failing at something, but it's just a belief I'm hearing. Yeah, a belief. It's either you feeling this way or just you keeping on hearing this idea that perhaps you're not enough, or perhaps you need to grow up, all these kinds of things because of an environment which is not necessarily all that attuned. But that is very fun because ironically you seem to be the most mature around. It's like we're starting with the 10 of Swords. That is the card of the survivor to me in this context especially. It's like someone who's gone through they've gone through a lot, not gonna lie. Someone who's had their dark nights, someone who's felt their pain, someone who's gone through understanding themselves and knowing why they were the way they were and decided to put in the work to choose who they wanted to be. But it's definitely the sense of being not only a survivor, but at this point, because it feels like it's long past this archetype of the survivor, more feels like someone who is someone who feels very powerful to the people around. It's like someone who meets you can immediately tell that you know yourself, you know your shit. Which is fun since that's not the way you seem to be appearing to people, especially with the King of Cups around. King of Cups is, well, the card of the mastery of our inner world. It talks about the balance between the heart and the mind. It talks about someone who has mastered their relationship with their emotions, someone who knows when to speak, someone who is very good at communicating, someone who knows when to use their mind, when not to. To me, this card in this context really denotes this sense of emotional maturity and the maturity of someone who knows themselves deeply, which is not all that common today still, you know? So that's a fun paradox, so that I can understand why this is something that you would need to see about yourself, as in there may be this idea of not being good enough, or this, it feels like self-doubt, honestly, feeling like you need to grow up, you need to do better, that you're not enough just this way, whatever it is really in these beliefs in the mind. The truth seems to be quite the opposite. The truth seems to be indicating that you've gone through it, and today people can feel just in your presence that you're gonna get over anything. It's like you've already had these bad moments, so it's like now you're not, something doesn't go your way, it doesn't matter. You know you're gonna get through it. It's very much this kind of inner strength and the knowing of the reliability you can have onto yourself, as in you know you're gonna get through it. You don't necessarily know how. It's not necessarily always gonna be pretty, but you know you're gonna make it. And it's very much this sense of, yeah, reliability and strength, which is striking here. With the even more paradoxical card, the King of Cups, you feel like you're not good enough, and yet you seem to be very much the most mature person of them all. I don't know if that's just an idea that you're walking with, or if it's something that is still being expressed around you by the people you got around. But you very much seem to be the most mature of them all, in the sense of you seem to be the person who knows themselves best, who knows how to handle their emotions, whereas that's sadly kind of a luxury today in our species, to be aware of one's emotions and to know how to flow with them. So that is, yeah, first a very paradoxical energy between how you feel and what you keep on telling yourself and what is appearing as the truth. That is, you are so mature. If anything, you would be teaching the people around you how to handle themselves. So that is a thing. And then another first quarter moon, there is a lot of fighter energy. There was like the survivor archetype popping up before. What do we have here? There is some, well, for one thing, there is a strikingly high level of resilience within you. Again, it probably deals with your history, but it just feels like you're not someone who's gonna back down. Not to say that we're gonna not talk about that. It's more like you're gonna get through it all. It's like if you want something, you're gonna get it. Okay, it may not be immediately, you may not know how, but you're gonna get it. It's like a kind of inner strength and resilience, which yet again is quite striking. Because this is definitely something that emanates from you. It's like people can say this person, they're gonna get anything they want in life. Even if you get to doubt yourself, it's not gonna change that. It's not gonna change that fact. Yeah, another thing, I feel like your energy appears as a bit of a slower energy, and I was picking up on earthly energies at the bottom already at the beginning. It's like you feel your energy feels stable and perhaps a little slow moving, because naturally you move a little slowlier, which is absolutely perfect. But because you can't be stopped, it's like, sure, it doesn't move all that fast, but you do not stop. It's extremely reliable. It's very reliable. It just feels like a pillar, honestly. Energetically, you appear like a pillar to all the structures, social structures, and more that you happen to be a part of. Because sure, your energy may be more on the slow moving side, but it never stops. And it's extremely reliable. It's not a very frugal, very swift energy that can go miles away, that can go super fast. But at the first wall, they need to like backtrack because they can't get through it. It's like, no, you take your time, but no one's gonna stop you. Like an elephant, it's like, oh yeah, the elephant is not necessarily known to be the fastest moving animal on this planet. It can go quite fast, but it's not known like as a cheetah or anything. However, when it starts running, you better not gonna be in the way. That's the kind of energy I'm getting here. Like, sure, it may appear a little slowlier, but my God, will it not stop? And that is something to be aware of as well. It's like, once you set your mind, that's another thing. It's like, once you set your mind onto something, people better not gonna be in the way, honestly. There is a sheer amount of determination going onto the things, the stars that you aim at. Now what? For the animal cards that we got at the bottom, well, a lot of wisdom, from what I can tell. Yeah, well, that's interesting because it makes sense with the cards we had at the top. I can tell, when we were talking about the fact that, okay, one thing is, I feel like it may not be the case for all of you, pile number 2, but you are still in a phase where you are getting to know yourself and purging the limiting beliefs that you may have been learning, like communing with your self-doubt and your fears so as to discover them and better realize that it's all people's beliefs and not yours. There's still this sense of one being in their own way because they're working through their doubts and their fears. But at the same time, your energy is very clearly the one of a leader and very, as we were saying, very mature, very much the kind of energy that would be teaching the people around. It's funny because the people around, because of the fact you may be presenting yourself in this position of inferiority, because I'm doubting myself, I'm always, even without meaning to, positioning myself as a lower status in every relationship. Although that may be the way you present yourself, and although people then feel that it's normal or feel validated into giving you the lessons, energetically it seems to be quite the freaking opposite. It's like the amount of wisdom and maturity that you're walking with for your age is quite concerning, not gonna lie. And again, it's like, it's a very strong energy. It's a very reliable energy. It feels like the pillar that supports a whole palace. It feels like the foundations. And yeah, like take the lead, learn from the past, use your mind wisely. I can tell that perhaps in the past it hasn't always been very easy, that there has been a lot of lessons learned, many lessons, perhaps more than usual compared to others, but that puts you at such an advantage when it comes to, knowing your stuff, knowing why things are the way they are for yourself, for the people around. It's like you have access to this kind of wisdom, this kind of knowledge, this kind of understanding of the world that not all people have access to, and you are being asked to being honest with yourself and stop being humble so as to not allow yourself to recognize it. It's like, no, it is not that common for people to have this much wisdom and knowledge and understanding of why things are the way they are. You may pretend to be as humble as you want. This feels very much like denial at this point. Like, no, you know your shit. That's not common, honey. And that really puts like the energy, that's another clash. It's like, you may have the temptation to always putting yourself below other people, and yet you very much energetically appear as the bigger and stronger energy. So I'm very much looking forward to when you will have dealt with these self-doubts and issues around fears, because my God, no, better not gonna be in your way then. It's like, you are so good at leading people because you are so good at understanding people, because of the fact that, it's like the more lessons you get to learn early on, and the deeper your understanding of humans become, the wiser you become. And so yet again, it's like elephants are known for their intelligence, their memory, their wisdom. Here we got another reference to wisdom. You're very much the guru we would be looking to and asking deep questions about, and yet you could very well be into spirituality and have this kind of wisdom, but you're also simply the kind of person that people, even within, I'm hearing like a traditional company structure, you would be the kind of person that people will come to ask questions to. Why? They don't necessarily know why, but there's just something about you that tells them that you probably know the answer. So that is very funny. It's like the day you stop doubting yourself, oh my God, it's gonna be a fun time for the people around. But yeah, it's like very, very beautiful energy. You are definitely called and meant to be leading. You are the one. It's like, I'm sorry, honey, if you're not comfortable with that idea, but you're not gonna escape that. It's like, you know way too much and you are way too wise to keep it all to yourself. What a waste would it be not to be sharing it with the world? So that's what I say. Yeah, there is definitely this idea of leading people. So that is a very interesting energy. It's like, take your time, pretend that you're not very confident, pretend that people are above you, pretend that you identify as lower in hierarchy. Let them a little bit of let them go before, give them a few seconds to run, because the day you stop doubting yourself, oh my God, there is a lot of beautiful energies within you that are just waiting for you to express. But the funny thing is that perhaps the last message is like, these things are already present. You may be doubting yourself. Again, not necessarily all of you. There may be some doubts around your validity, your worth, and blah, blah, blah. I'm pretty sure you're already aware of these things. These energies of wisdom, of leadership, of knowledge, of maturity, they're already very obvious to the people around you. And that is why I feel like your ascension, the process of you putting yourself at peace with all of this doubt, and the process of you entering your era of not giving a fluff about what people think, is being greatly accelerated by the fact that I feel that you're being quite antagonized by the people around you, something we were already picking up on with the Ten of Swords, feeling like there are people around you that seemingly enjoy putting you down. I feel that there are two purposes in that. The fact that you're in an environment that put you down. No, it's not because you deserve it. That you can live out of the window, thank you, out of the door. And no, it's not because you've manifested it because there's something wrong within you. No, you can also leave that out of the door. The two reasons is, first of all, because of your energy is so obvious, well, it's very triggering to the people who have a problem with that. So that is making it even more obvious to you that this is how you appear. It's like, but I don't understand why they don't like me. I'm not doing anything. It's not about you doing, it's about you being. You being the awesome badass that you are is bringing up to the surface their insecurities. That's why you're being antagonized, if that's something that resonates. Second of all, the fact that you're being antagonized is triggering these emotions around self-doubt, shame, and all the story, which is making it that much more obvious and that much easier for you to feel, experience, and let go of. So I feel that if you're in a situation where you feel antagonized by your environment, thank it. It's not pleasant, it's not comfortable, but it's definitely greatly accelerating the process of you stopping to give a fluff about what they think and stopping to doubt yourself. So yeah. Woo, that was passionate of a reading. That was a passionate one. Thank you so much for having shared space with me today. That was a lovely reading. That was a very empowering reading, I feel. But it's like obvious energies that need to be said out loud, definitely. So I'm very much looking forward to the moment in which you're gonna stop pretending to be less than, because it's gonna... once that day comes, oh my god, it's gonna be very fun. But yeah, please let me know down in the comments how it went for you. I'd love to connect with you, especially when it comes to all of the information that came through. Did it resonate? What did you think? How did it make you feel? I'm very curious to know about it. But yeah, please honor your worth, because you are infinitely valuable already. Enjoy your leadership, enjoy your wisdom, enjoy your maturity, because that is precious. I'm gonna be seeing you in my next video. Till then, take care. I love you, and I'll see you there. Bye. Hey, pal number 3, how are you doing? You're up. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're comfortable. I hope you're curious and excited about the messages. So far, we've had some very, very interesting and beautiful messages. If part 3, if you chose the red Jasper, that's gonna be your reading. So let's get right into it. Okay, so to the question of what is it that you need to be seeing about yourself, let's see. We got the 5 of Swords, the Queen of Cups. Okay, that is interesting. What else do we have? We have Fulminaries, like a freaking ball of fire. Full Moon, straight up, okay. Then we got the Koi Fish. I'm gonna have to put them up. Yeah, now they fit. Okay, we got the Koi Fish as well as the Whale and the Moth. Okay. So, well, to say the least, first thing that is like jumping right at me is how intuitive you are. Like between the Queen of Cups, the Full Moon Serenity, the Divine card, we got even the Whale. It's like deep intuitive energies, and that is very fun. It feels like someone being in tune with their intuition generally feels like a superpower, in the sense that gives you access to information that other people seemingly don't have access to. They could have if they chose to listen to their own intuition, but if they choose not to, well, it gives you quite a big advantage on life. Moth Spirit as well deals with intuition. So that is one thing. It was like straight off the bat, you do appear as a very, very intuitive person. And that in and of itself is very charming, very beautiful. Another one, like the 5 of Swords, I'm interpreting the reverse meaning. It feels like someone who's very much got their heart on their hand, who's very much there for their kin, there for their friends. It deals with generosity, with the desire to strive together. family would be a big one as well. Like someone who's very much a happy butterfly, who's happy to be spending time with other people, to be there for them. A really good friend, I'm hearing. A really good friend, a really good partner. Someone that people really enjoy the presence of because of how sweet and kind they are. Without talking of your generosity, very obviously. That is super, super nice. Also, like, accent on the emotional world. Like, we got to, like, sea creatures and the Queen of Cups herself, which is very, like, it's also very emotional, very flowy, besides the intuition. So something is like, yeah, there's a very flowy nature to you, very intuitive nature to you, very, very kind, very motherly. I'm feeling like the archetype of the Cancer energy in astrology. Like the archetype of the mother, someone who loves providing, someone who loves being there for their tribe. It just feels like such a pleasure to be around you, honestly. It's a very, very fun energy. And then, a very fun thing, we got full moon in Aries. A fiery climax. To me, like, this card just looks like a freaking fireball. Which is very fun because at first glance, it feels like being the extreme opposite of this very sweet motherly energy that we have here. This is more like the energy of a punk rock star coming up, screaming on top of their lungs in a mic. That's much the energy I'm getting here, but that's fun. There is a side to you which feels like the rebel, which feels very fiery, which feels very much in your face, which is very energetic, with a lot of will, feels driven, which is fun because it feels like it's contrasting. But that is a very, very, very interesting thing. It's like you got both polarities. At first, you appear very sweet and very kind, and it's genuinely a real pleasure to be around you and a blessing to be in your presence. But as people get to know you more, something that they get to see is how much of a wild person you can be as well. That is a very, very fun thing. It just feels like it feels so out of character, and yet it's very much a part of you. You know, it's not out of character at all, but it's like when people only get to see this like at first, and then they get to discover this, it feels out of character, and then they realize, no, that's just you. It's like you're both, and that is just so interesting. I'm just getting this sensation of like someone who's genuinely so interesting, because at first, despite yourself, you would put them into the box of an archetype of the caretaker, and then one day they just appear like that, and you're like, oh my god, I was so wrong. I was so far off. It's like, yes, there's that, but not only. And that is very thing. It just makes you so interesting. I feel like the people around you that get to know you is like this, but like Pandora is just such an interesting person. It's so stimulating to be around them. So that is a very, very fun. It feels very free and liberated kind of energy as well. So that's something to be aware of. Because some of you, I'm hearing, could be a bit of a, because it contrasts, I wouldn't be surprised if some of you grew up in this, like, this is definitely true to who you are, but I wouldn't be surprised if some of you just grew up with this idea that in order to be liked and accepted, you need to be this, and so this part of you would be a little more like neglected and pushed away. I definitely don't feel that's the case for everybody, but I wouldn't be surprised if some of you are a bit more of a loss when it comes to this part of you. But just to let you know, it makes you sexy. It makes you hot. It makes you so interesting, honestly. And that's something to be really aware of. And also, I feel like just a natural optimism about life, like the koi fish, the whale, and the moth. The whale just gives such a strong energy of just being surrendered and in total acceptance with what is happening. It's like no matter what happens, you're okay with it. It may not be what you prefer, but you accept it. And so even if it's not what you prefer, it doesn't steal away your joy. And that honestly feels like a superpower to many. We got like another reference to being surrendered, but the moth spirit just giving me like, even in the dark you find the light, even in the dark you see where the light lies. Sometimes when it's pitch black, it's when you realize that you are the light in it. But there's just this stubbornness about you that is that you will always see the light. And just yet again, it's like natural optimism about life in general. So it's a very, very upbeat, very optimistic, very fun energy, which I guess ties these two sides together. It's like, yeah, you are at heart someone who definitely does enjoy the calm, the peace, the love, the connections, the proximity, but you also love having fun. And it's like, no matter what happens, you're just happy to be. So that is a very, very, very cute energy that we got here. Definitely the kind of person that people would die for, the kind of person that people would kill to be friends with. I'm going to pull a few other cards since we got some time. Woohoo! Okay, maybe not these many. Okay, just give me a second. Like, I covered my desk in cards. I'm gonna take these 3 ones. Okay. We got fearless expression and gratitude again. Celebrate your wins. Well, first of all, with the rooster, it's definitely giving me back this energy of just this very fiery energy. Again, it gives it almost more context. Like, yeah, you love being there for others and you're very happy to, you know, just be a little bit back so as to help others. Sometimes you realize that perhaps it's not the moment for you to shine, it's for them to shine, and you're very happy to be supporting them in that. Sometimes you know it's goddamn time for you to shine and for you to steal the spotlight, you know? So yet again, we have this like these beautiful energies that seem to be clashing together, although they marry beautifully and perfectly within you. But there's this very rooster kind of energy coming through, definitely like very proud energy. It's like you're proud of yourself, and you should be, you know? It's a very, very beautiful energy. Very nice energy. Fearless expression, quite literally, is like you're not afraid of telling people in their face, oh, I'm hearing you can be quite honest, and that is something that you're very valued for as well. But something also to be aware of is like your honesty is deeply appreciated and very valued. It's like people know they can count on you because you won't hold back when it comes to telling it how it is. When things need to be said, they know they can count on you to say these things. And you're not afraid to express yourself. And even if it ends up being a little triggering, a little provocative, even if your opinion is very clearly decided, you know, and that is very, very interesting, I find. Gratitude, again, it sends me back to this idea of just natural optimism. Someone who's just happy to be and happy to live their life, honestly. So yeah, it gives a little bit more context. But definitely beautiful and sweet energies. So if some of these are things that perhaps you were not aware of, or perhaps not things that you necessarily always take the time to express or honor, that's okay. Just know that it's part of you, so you're not going to escape it. You can be running away from it as much as you want. It's you. So beautiful, beautiful energies. Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much for having shared space with me today. That was a lovely reading, to say the least. A very beautiful reading. Please let me know down in the comments how it went for you. What did you think? What did you feel? Yeah, I'd love to be connecting with you down in the comments. Very, very interesting reading. That being said, I'm going to be seeing you in my next video. Till then, take care of yourself. And yeah, enjoy your time. Bye. Hey, pal number 4, how are you doing? Welcome to the reading. You're up on stage. It's your time to shine. I hope you're doing great. I hope you're sitting comfortably, lying comfortably, whatever. If pile 4, if you chose the Amethyst cluster, the Dusty Amethyst cluster, now that I look at it, That's gonna be your reading, so let's get right into it. Okay, so to the question, what is it that you need to know about yourself, considering how bright you shine, let's pull the cards. We got, to begin with, the Ace of Cups as well as the Queen of Swords. That's funny because I don't think we've had a single group today that didn't have cups in their tarot cards. For the cards themselves, we got Full Moon in Gemini, as well as... Wait, that's it? We're going to be pulling other cards later down the line then. Bat Spirit and Hawk Spirit. I mean, fewer cards probably means the message is going to be more straight up. Yeah, I feel like you definitely, just based off the number of the cards, I drew the cards for different groups, like for all the groups at once, but I didn't necessarily count the cards that I was picking up for all the groups, and it just so happened that in the end, the three first groups seemed to have a similar amount of cards. This one seems to be noticeably shorter. Not sure the message is, but that could definitely be indicating, first of all, that you're not the kind of person to be wasting your time, which kind of makes sense with the Queen of Swords. It's like, I think that in and of itself is a message straight off the bat. It's like the Queen of Swords to me very much feels like the empowered feminine, just that girl who knows their worth and is just not gonna waste their time with that which is not useful. You don't have to be a girl for this reading, pound number 4. Just wanna get it that clear, but that's an archetype that tends to resonate with people. But yeah, it's like very much this energy of someone who knows their worth and as such will not be settling for that which wastes their time. That's what I'm getting at. So that is a very interesting energy straight off the bat. I'm gonna make sure I'm not wasting your time then. I'm gonna see if we pull other cards at the end or not. We'll see. But yeah, to begin with the Queen of Swords. So first of all, that which we just discussed. Another one is definitely someone who is very good at organizing. It's like I'm hearing organization, self-discipline. There are these masculine qualities coming through. And being aware of their thoughts. It's like whether you are aware of it or not, if you're watching this video, you certainly have heard this idea of your thoughts create your reality. It's like whether you have the experience of it or not, whether you have the actual deep understanding of it or not, funnily enough, I can tell that negative words or negative thoughts, when vocalized, they do disturb you, even if you don't necessarily know why. It's like you don't like hearing negativity, and that's something that you don't stand even for when your friends are expressing that, as in even when your friends are saying something out loud which is not very positive, that still bugs you. You're the kind of person who would say, no, don't say that to their friends. There's just something that doesn't sit right with people misusing their words, and that's just denoting to me the fact that even if it's not conscious, at least deep down, you already are aware of the power of words and the power of the mind. Definitely someone I'm hearing that loves daydreaming and imagining and visualizing. So there's definitely a beautiful association with the mind and self-mastery. So that is very interesting. And that's something that is, I feel, very impressive, even to the people around you. Something to be aware of, definitely. Oh, there's a fun association between these flowers and these butterflies. I'm gonna see after if it comes up, because right now I don't have anything besides that, but I feel like it could be relevant after. The Ace of Cups, that brings in emotionality in the mix straight off the bat. What can we say about this card? I feel like you value your peace, honestly. It's like there is definitely some mental energy coming through with the Gemini, the Queen of Swords. It's like a lot of airy energy, even the Hawk, arguably. a lot of air energy, and yet you could totally be someone who has who's experienced burnout in the past and have understood the fact that your internal world is actually very important. Your, what we call the emotional body, is actually part of your anatomy and deserves attention in order for the sake of being healthy. It's not something you can neglect. The same reason that your body is important to take care of. If you don't, likely that you will be unhealthy and eventually break down. And there's definitely this energy of you being the walking embodiment of the fact that emotions are not just something to be avoided. Emotions actually denote the existence of what we call the emotional body, which is something to be taken care of. It's part of your anatomy. You seem to be the walking embodiment of this knowing. And as such, you seem to be someone who very much values their peace, values their emotional well-being, and carefully chooses the people they surround themselves with, which can definitely be something very interesting because you wouldn't necessarily think of that first. It's like mental energies, especially Gemini, they're typically the kind of people who just love to bond with people. And that's kind of the vibe you give off. It's like you are very happy to, at first, from a distance, you would appear to be someone who is very like social and enjoys being a butterfly. What's a social butterfly? Who enjoys being a social butterfly and enjoys connecting with multiple people. That may not be what you feel like, but that's definitely what you come off as. It's like someone who very much enjoys connecting, but this Ace of Cups is indicating me that no, you actually are quite conscious about who you invite into your presence, so to speak. I don't know if that was English, but it's like, it's not random who gets access to you. It's like, yeah, you may come off as someone who's very social, and that's definitely something which is going on with your energy. I mean, why do you come off this way? Well, probably because that's the energy you're emanating, you know? It's like, you are very good with words, which is not surprising with the Queen of Swords. It's like, with the King of Swords, there would be the Masters of Communication, really, because the air energy deals with communication. So it's like your communicating is effortless, making up new friends is effortless. It's not difficult for you to, you know, like the relational aspect of life is far from difficult and one that you actually enjoy. Yet it doesn't mean that you necessarily enjoy being constantly surrounded with a ton of people. It's like, I don't necessarily sense that you are necessarily all that extroverted, to say the least. Although that may, people who interact with you notice how good you are at communicating, and so they would assume that you are probably extroverted. It doesn't take long for people to realize that that's not the case, and I definitely know what I'm getting. So some of you may be more on the extroverted side, but I feel like most of you just enjoy your peace, honestly. If you are around people that allow you to feel at peace, if you're around people around whom you feel peaceful, then you can be more than extroverted. If you're around people you do not enjoy the presence of, you can appear as quite introverted, honestly. It's just because you value your peace. And as we said at the beginning, it's like, you're not gonna be wasting your time with things that do not deserve your attention and your presence. Like, you know your worth, you know that you're valuable. Not everybody can afford your presence and your energy. That is very, very interesting. Got a bit of a sour throat. Okay, full moon in Gemini. We already touched a little onto it, but definitely a huge accent on communication. You just seem to be very good at communicating, and I feel that perhaps this is part of the messages that you need to be aware of. I feel like this is something that you may be overlooking because you're just so good at it that you wouldn't even necessarily be considering it as an actual valuable asset. The fact that you're so good at communicating, I just feel like it's second nature to you to know how to handle yourself so as to best communicate with anyone you meet. Could definitely someone, I'm hearing like someone who's very familiar with communicating with different cultures. That sounds very specific for some of you, not necessarily all. But I just feel like you are typically the kind of person who could have been in the past a bit of a chameleon when it comes to social assets, like someone who's very good at mirroring someone else. Being an energetical chameleon is generally an adaptation because of a past experience that we did not enjoy. But I feel that, it's like as you grow up, you realize that, okay, you don't need to be a chameleon. It's more than pleasurable to just be yourself. But the blessing is that these people tend to, keep this ability. It's like now they know when they want to use it consciously, but they can use it still. And it's like they're very much happy to be themselves. And the queen, I mean, that is very much a badass energy. It's like they're not gonna be lowering the standards so as to pleasure anyone. That's very much not like a queen of swords, and that's very much not like you. It may have been you in the past, a long time ago. Today, that's very much not the case. But you still have this ability of excelling at knowing what people connect with best, what people would be expecting of you. Not meaning that you will give it to them, but you know it. It's like you're very good at knowing how to handle social situations. It's just second nature, I feel. It's like you're so good at having relationships going the way you want them to go. It's effortless to you. And that is a superpower in of itself. It's not the case of everyone. And you need to realize that, honey. The fact that you're so good at communicating. Which, again, it feels like if you wanted to be, you would be a social butterfly. You would be friends with freaking everybody. It just so happens that because you value your inner peace, you're not friends with everybody. But you could if you really wanted to. That is feels like a very fun asset, but one worth mentioning, honestly. And if that's not something you were completely aware of, please recognize it. Be honest with yourself, damn it. Then we got the bat and the hawk. Two arguably flying creatures. Like we got a bird, we got a bat, we got a hawk, we got wings, we got butterflies. A lot of air energy, definitely. What can we say with these tiny animals? Well, first of all, the bat. A rebirth is a short. I feel like one of your archetypes in tarot could definitely be the death card, in the sense of someone who's happy to reinvent themselves. I'm hearing that for some of you it could be quite literal, as in someone who just enjoys changing their hairstyle every few months, someone who just enjoys changing their clothing style, someone who enjoys appearing physically differently, someone who loves reinventing the way they appear, the way they look. But I'm also sensing for most of you in this case, like someone who just is very happy to reinvent themselves internally, someone who's very much, I'm hearing definitely there could be this idea of being very focused on one's self-growth, someone who's just very happy to be investing on being the best version of themselves, being the best of what they can be, being their happiest. And that makes it so that you have a very, your energy seems like constantly transmuting, honestly, which kind of reminds me what we just talked of, like the chameleon energy. Like it's a very mutable energy. You could be like a, how are they called? It's not the cardinal, it's not the fixed signs in astrology. Literally the mutable signs in astrology. Could be a mutable sign in astrology, which are, wait, Gemini is a mutable sign in astrology, if I'm not mistaken. Gemini, Virgo, what else do we have? We have Sagittarius, as well as Pisces. You don't have to be, but it's giving me this kind of mutable energy, Gemini definitely being one of them. But it's like, it's the energy of constantly changing and reinventing themselves, having an easy time changing to what they prefer. And that is very, very interesting. Definitely, I'm feeling this kind of ironic energy because this is definitely something that could be putting some people off, because they wouldn't be expecting you to be changing this frequently and this drastically, yet always for the better. But I just feel like to you, it generally feels like a superpower. It's like you know that you can be whatever you want, which is, guess what? True. It's true. And the Hawk Spirit, let Spirit be your guide. It's funny because I didn't like this card is straight off the bat giving me more of like a spiritual kind of turn, and more like yeah, a more spiritual kind of energy, which is funny because this is definitely not something that I was feeling. So it could be a thing that you have your own practice, your own spiritual practices, which, I mean, now that I'm thinking about it, you're watching a tarot video, so a tarot reading, so you know, it's like it wouldn't be far-fetched to to believe that. Not I'm thinking about it, but I'm just sensing this idea of, even if it's not conscious, there is just this thing about you that intrinsically knows that everything will be alright and that anything that you want can be, and that you are guided and that you're provided for, the same way that you have this intrinsic knowing that words have power. It's like there seems to be an intrinsic wisdom to you, deep wisdom about how the world really is, and that just gives you such a sense of peace to people that wouldn't necessarily make sense, because yet again, I wouldn't be surprised if for some of you it's not a conscious thing. For some of you it definitely may be a thing where you'll be like, oh yeah, that's true, I've never thought about it. It's true that I do generally feel like I'm taken care of, that everything will be alright, that everything is always happening for me. There is this kind of intrinsic knowing, this state of being, which is very positive and very uplifting for you. So yeah, that is very interesting. Hard to put into words, but definitely there. Well, you know what? We had a few less cards, but I feel like the message has been long enough already. So I'm gonna cut it there. Thank you so much for having shared space with me today. That was a very interesting reading to finish this video with, because yeah, we definitely didn't have these kinds of energies with the other groups. So very, very, very fascinating. Please let me know down in the comments how it went for you, if it resonated, what were your thoughts about it, what did it make you feel. I'd love to be connecting with you in the comments. And yeah, thank you so much for having been here. I'm gonna be seeing you in my next video. Till then, enjoy. That's just what I'm gonna say, is like, enjoy who you are. Thank you for being you. There you go. I'm gonna see you there. Bye.